Welcome to the first part of this video series. Today we are going to build a simple CRM using Django with Django Rest Framework and build the front end separately using Vue. I posted an introduction to this course a couple of days ago where I talked a little bit more in detail about what we're going to build if you're interested in looking at it. I will add a link in the description below. Anyways, in this part we're going to focus on the front end by installing Vue and a few other libraries we want. After that we're going to set up a few simple pages, etc. So we can begin with the first task, which is install Vue and some libraries. So if I just go to my terminal and go into my folder, documents, ganar CRM. This is the name. Ganar is Spanish for win or earn, which is what we want with the CRM. We want to win customers. So the first thing I want to install is Vue. And to do that, I just say npm install -g at Vue/CLI. This will install the newest version of Vue. Okay, I still don't have anything in this folder except for my to-do list. So what I want to do now is to create the Vue project by saying Vue create ganar CRM _Vue. And I want to manually select which features I want to use. So just down the arrows and hit enter. I want Babel, not TypeScript, not progressive web apps, but I want a router, I want Vuex, and I want CSS preprocessors, and I don't need linters for this project. And then I can hit enter, and I want to select 3.x here, so I'll get Vue 3. And I want to use history mode, and I want to use Dart says. And this can be put in dedicated config files, and I don't need to save this for later. So now the project will be created on my Mac. Okay, everything seems to be okay, so I can go into the folder, cd, ganar, like that. So now in the root of the folder, or the Vue project. And as I said, we also need to install a few other dependencies or libraries. First we can install Bulma, which is a CSS framework I love to use. npm install Bulma. Feel free to use Bootstrap or something else if you want to, but then you need to change the HTML I use a little bit. Next we can install Bulma Toast. This is a little library to make it easy to show notifications to the users. npm install Bulma Toast. And then last but not least, Axios. Axios is a library we're going to use to handle Ajax. In other words, talk to the backend. Most browsers support a built-in function you could use called fetch, but I really like Axios, so I'm going to stick with it for this series as well. npm install Axios. Great, so now everything is installed and I can go back to my to-do list and set this task to done. Next step now is to set up the libraries. And I want to configure Axios first, and this is done inside the src main.js file. So here I want to import Axios from Axios like this, Axios, and then I want to append it here after the router. The main JS file, which we are in now, is where Vue is initialized. As you can see here, we create the app and all of the setup is done. I will come back to all of the other files later in this tutorial, so don't worry if you think there's too many files you don't know what to do yet. And then below here, I just want to set the default URL for Axios. So axios.defaults.base URL equals http 127.0.0.1.1000, and this is the URL for the Django backend, which we will create later. So then I can just save and close this file. And then the next bit of configuration is Bulma. This is very simple because you can just import the CSS file from Bulma inside the app.vue file. So I just want to remove this default styling that comes from Vue. And I say at import /node modules /bulma, and that's it. So then I can go back to the to-do list and set the next task to done as well. Next I want to create a component for the menu. This is to make things as clean as possible for the app.vue file. So inside this components folder, a component is reusable pieces of code. So in here I want to create a new folder called layout, and in there a new folder called navbar.vue. I have capital N like that because that's how you do name your components in Vue. So here I create a new template tag because this is where all of the HTML will go for this component. Nav class navbar is dark, so it's a dark gray color. Div class navbar brand. This is where the logo will go, with the name of the site. And to use a link in Vue, we create a router link to / which is the front page, class navbar item. And then in here I say strong canar CRM. Whoops. Close the router link, close the navbar brand. And then below there I want to create a div class navbar menu and div class navbar end, because I want some buttons on the right side of the screen. And then to create the buttons I need a navbar item here as well, but this is going to be inside the div navbar item and div class buttons, because I'm going to add 2 buttons, and by adding the buttons class you get a little bit space between them automatically. Router link to sign up class button is success. This will be a nice and green button, and I want the font in here to be bold or strong. Sign up, close that, close the router link, and I can just copy this, replace the 2 to log in, and this can be a light button, so it's light gray. Remove the strong, this can just say login. Then we close that div, close that div, close that div, close that div, and close nav. And I also want to add a simple script here. Script export default name navbar script. So now everything here should be okay, and we are ready to use this inside the app.vue. But before I do that, we can run this project by saying npm run serve, just so we see how it looks before and after. So then I just copy this address, go to Chrome, and not much going on here right now. This is just some boilerplate code from Vue. But if I go back here now into app.vue, and then I add a script tag here as well, script export default name app, and then I want to import the component we just created. And to do that, you say import navbar from @components / layout / navbar. And @ just means that we go to the root of the Vue project where we have the folder components, layout, and then navbar. And we also need to register them here. Components navbar. Great. And then to use it, I can just copy this, go above the router view, and say navbar /. So if I now go back here, it doesn't go. Okay, I might be missing a / there. Yes. So now we got the navbar up here. Perfect. Got a couple of errors there, or warnings, because /signup isn't registered as a page yet, but you can just ignore that for now. And then I just want to add a little bit space above here. And to do that, go back here, and around this router view, we say section class section. This is a built-in class from Bulma. Great, that looks a little bit better. Okay, so I get a warning now because this should only have one root element in here. I just want to add an empty div like that, and I indent that. Great. And app.vue is like the base.html file in Django. It's something we want to extend. And this is almost like a block template code in Django because all of the code that we see here is injected into this. And the page we see here is the home.vue file. So if I just remove this like that, go back, you'll see that all of the text is now gone. Great. So then I can go back here and set this task as well to done. Before I continue, I just want to say thanks to my Patreons. If you too want to support me, you will find a link to my Patreon in the description below. Next step now is to create a very simple page for the sign up. To do that, I create a new file in here called signup.vue. Then I create a template tag. Template, oops, like that. And in here I want to have a div class container, and I want a div class columns because I want to make this page a little bit narrow. Div class column is 4 and is narrow 4, so it's centered on the screen. There I want to add a title, sign up, close that. No, sorry, I was not supposed to close that yet. Form, div class field, I want one field for the email, label email. Div class control, this is where the input field will go. Input type email, name email, and class input. Then I close that, and I can make a copy of it so I don't have to write all of it. Password, input type password, and I want the name to be password 1, like that. Then I can make a copy of this and say repeat password and rename this to password 2. And then I want a simple button for submitting the form. Div class field, div class control. I add these classes so I get a little bit space between them and everything is correct done for Bulma. Button class, button is success, submit. We can close the button, close that div, the form, that div, and that div, and the most outer div, like that. And then I just want to add the script again. Export default sign up and save. And a file inside this views folder is the same as the page, but in order to use it we also need to add it to the router. So if I go into the router and I find index.js, you can see that we have the home page and an about page. So if I go back here now, try to go to about, I will be redirected to a simple about page. But we want to import our sign up page by saying import sign up from /views signup.vue. Then I can append it here by just making a copy of this. Sign up. This is the same URL as we use in the app.vue. Then we give it a name and say which component we use. So a component and a view is essentially the same thing. So if we save now, go back and click sign up, you will see sign up here and a simple form. But it's not on the center of the screen, because isNarrow4 is not a class, it should be isOffset4. So now it's centered on the screen. Perfect. So then I can set this task to done as well. So this authentication and the backend for this will be handled in the next part of this series. So then the next task will be to create a login page. First I can just create a new file, login.vue, and then I can just copy the contents from signup because they are very similar. Rename this to login. I can remove one of the password fields and replace the title with login. And that's, I can remove the one there because it's cleaner like that. So then I can import this as well to this router, login, and make a copy of this. Replace the URL with log-in, login, save, go back to the browser, click login, and now you can see we only have one password field. Perfect. So then I can go back to the to-do list again, set this task to done, like that. And I also want a simple page for the dashboard. So create a new folder in here called dashboard, because I want to keep all of the views or pages connected to the dashboard inside this folder to keep things as clean as possible. And in there create one more file called dashboard.vue. And I can also make a copy of the top here, but I want this to be 12 width, and this should be a is multi line, so they will be wrapped on the page. Dashboard, I can close this div, close this div, close this div, close the template. Then I just need the script tag, export default, name is dashboard. Like that. Don't want to add anything more here for now. So I can just go in here and import it. I can add this to the bottom, but I need to import it first. Dashboard. Like that. Then make a copy of this. So when you go to /dashboard, we want to use this view. Save. Okay, it can't find, of course not, because here we want to go into /dashboard. Great. So I can try to go to /dashboard, and I see the title. So right now we can access this page without being authenticated, and this is something I will fix at the end of this video. So then I can go back here, set this to done, because I don't want to do anything more there for now. And by the way, if you like this video, I would be really happy if you click like below. Thank you. And if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, it would be super awesome if you did it now. And also remember to click the bell to get email notification when I publish new videos. Okay, so now I need to create a simple page for my account. I can just copy here, create a new file inside the dashboard folder, my account.vue. Paste this, replace the title with my account, and also this, my account. And then we need to import this here. My account. And I copy this as well. So the URL here will be /dashboard/my-account. And we want to use the name my account, and pass it in there as well. So I can now go to my account. Great. So then I can go back to the to-do list again. I set this to done, And next I want to configure the Vuex store. Vuex is a local state handler. This makes it easy to check if we are authenticated, have security tokens, check the load state and similar. This file should already be created, so if I just find store/index.js. I want to add a few variables to the state. This is variables we keep track of. For example, is loading, set is default to false, is authenticated. This is also default false, of course. And I want the field for keeping track of the token. And fields here are immutable, so we can't just change them directly. But to change them, we use mutations. So here I want to create a function for initializing this Vuex store. This function will be called from the app.vue file later. So I create a new function called initialize store, pass in state. This is done automatically. And here I want to check if we have saved the token in the local storage of the browser. We do this by saying if local storage.getItem token. Then we know that the user is authenticated, and we can say state.token equals local storage.getItem token. And at least the browser will think we are authenticated, but it will be checked in the backend anyways, just to be sure. And we also say state.is authenticated to true. But if we don't have this in the local storage, we need to just reset this to be empty to be sure. And I also want to set the is authenticated to false. It's probably not necessary, but I like to do it anyways. And I want one mutation for changing the loading status. So set is loading, state and status, and state.is loading equals status. So it would be nice if you just could set this in other files, but to make sure that this is synced in all of the pages, you can only mutate it in this file. And I want one function for setting the token, set token, state token. And when we pass in this token, we say state.token equals token, and state.is authenticated equals true. So then we know that we are authenticated. And last function I'm going to create here is a remove token. This is when we sign out. Then we just say state.token equals empty, and state.is authenticated is false. So we can save. So now that we have a simple Vuex store, we just need a way to run this function when we open up the website. So I'm going to run this from the app.vue file. Vue has a few life cycles, and one of them is before create. This is called before the code is actually finished and presented on the screen. So in this file here, below the component, we say before create. Then we say this.store.commit initialize store. So this will actually run this function here. So we don't have any errors there, so probably things are working as it should, but we need to add a little bit more things here. So if this.store.state.token, this is a reference to this variable, so we can get it by saying this.store.state.token. So here we check that if this exists, then we know that we are authenticated, and we want to set the default headers for Axios. Axios.defaults.headers.common authorization equals, say, token space, this is very important, plus this.store.state.token. So now the token is automatically added each time we try to use Axios. But if you are not authenticated, you can just copy this and set, oops, there, and set it to be empty. So that if you try to, so now that the server in the backend will know that you are not authenticated. Perfect. So we can set this task to done. And then the next task is to set up router guards. And this is to make sure that you can't access my account, dashboard, etc. when you're not authenticated. What this does is that before we enter a route or a page like dashboard, we check if you are authenticated. And to do that, we just go into router index.js, and then we need to import the router, the Vuex store we just created. Import store from /store. So now we have access to the isAuthenticated variable. And then at the bottom below where we create the router, we say router.beforeEach to from next. This is the page we're coming from, going to, and what we are going to do next. Now create a fat arrow function. If to.matched.sum record.meta.require login. And so here we basically check that if we have set one of these routes to require login and we are authenticated, and we are not authenticated, sorry, store.state.is authenticated. Then we go here and say next /login. So if one of these are set to require login and we are not authenticated, we will be redirected to the /login page. But if not, we can just call next, which is the page we want to go to. So then we just need to tell that the dashboard requires login. And we do that by saying meta : require login true. Copy this, paste it down here at my account as well. If I now go back here, okay, here's an error. Axios is not defined, of course, sorry. I forgot to import it in app.vue. So at the top here, import Axios from Axios. If I refresh now, get a new error. Can't read property common of undefined. Okay, it should be headers. Sorry for the typo. Okay, I can still visit my account page, so there is something wrong. Okay, the problem is that the browser actually thinks that I'm authenticated because I have worked on a similar project with this URL. But the backend would fix this for me. But for now I need to go into application and into here and just clear site data. So if I refresh now, I will be sent to login. Perfect. So that means that the code here is working, and I can go back to the to-do list and set this task to done. So now we've done all of the tasks for this part. In the next part we will start setting up Django and make it possible to add authentication in the backend. This means that you now can create accounts, log in and log out. If you have any questions about this part, feel free to leave a comment below and answer as soon as I can. See you in the next video.